All right. We're back once again. The Neo Standard Podcast. We're here at the Rain Incubator. Once again, I'm your host, Kelvin Penn, joined with Nate Veal and Balori Howard. Guys, how we doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Okay. All right. What's new? I know life's crazy right now.
Hey, we're just trying to make it. You know, I'm too old to get drafted, so that's a plus.
It's all about yourself.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'll fight if I have to. I'm not saying.
I'm in that age range where I'm kind of like needed, you know. So
just stock up on ammunition, dry goods. You'll be good.
I've been seeing stuff. What was it? I don't know the guy's name. I know Zelensky, the president over in Ukraine. And since we're talking, the war is going on. It's crazy. But so apparently that guy was like a comedian or something before. But now he's like rock 'em, sock 'em, like let's go. I'm putting on a military. The president, the newly elected Ukraine president.
He used to be an actor and a comedian.
And then I saw also that one of the guys, because I've been seeing this man, he kept getting knocked out on screen. It was a mayor somewhere, and I think in the town of Kyiv, was like an ex-boxer or MMA martial artist or something. And the only reason I recognized him was because on Instagram, when you go on this story lookup mode or whatever, I kept seeing him getting knocked out by this same guy. And it looked like a crazy knockout. So that's the only reason I drew the connection. It's kind of wild, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyways, that's not what we're here for.
I kept seeing stuff about the Ukraine leader talking about, "Oh, we outside" or whatever. Like
he's like, "Cast me outside."
Word, but basically, he was just like, "They're trying to say I ran from my country. I'm here." Like,
yeah.
Like, we want smoke or something like that or whatever. Like,
come on.
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes a good story. So the story that I heard on NPR today was...
That's what made me not want to take it serious, though. I was like, bro, he talking about they outside and, like, they ain't running from no war smoke or nothing like that. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can't
They're
really.
doing this for the games, bro.
But he also was like, I guess apparently the U.S. was offering to withdraw him and his family out of Ukraine to save them. And so the story goes, he goes, he said, I need ammunition, not a ride.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes headlines.
It does make headlines.
I think that's awesome that it makes headlines.
If they win, we'll hear that for years.
Right.
Thoughts and prayers are with you, Ukraine, just so you know. So, but that's not what we're here for. What are we here for? We're here to talk about blockchain, crypto, all the stuff that's going on.
Technology.
And when a war breaks out, typically, right? Well, I don't know. What typically happens? Because right now it seems like we're in a state of like everything's just going downhill, right? And that's the mindset. But I remember when I was taking history classes, my teacher would tell me war starts industry. It promotes, it gets things going. It's good for economy. It's good for business. Historically, maybe they haven't seen that during the time period. And maybe we're talking about it too soon also too, but who knows? But what does it actually do for economies, like in the past that you guys have seen?
It definitely drives people to buy certain things for sure, like certain sale prices and certain items. Like, for example, when COVID had first started, everybody's getting toilet paper and water, and then like buying a bunch of bread and like sandwich stuff, I guess. Yeah. And like I don't know about the canned foods. I didn't see all that in stores, but like I'm pretty sure it's safe to assume that people would get a bunch of stuff like that because, say, none of this stuff comes back in the store for like a long time. At least we have a bunch of stuff that won't perish super fast. Right. But like, I guess, I don't know about war terms, but like I know for like when there's something going globally, like around like, oh snap, and everybody's in like a crisis or a shock, a lot of people run to like the grocery stores and like clean them out basically.
Well, and that's, I mean, again, that's why it's even more confusing because it's like the price of things starts to shoot up. Right. Like, your perishable items will shoot up because they're going to be deemed more valuable at that point in time. Yeah. But somebody's making money somewhere.
Right. I think when war happens, obviously there's a cascading effect of things that occurs too. Mm-hmm. Some positive, some negative, depending on where you are. So let's just say, for example, if you're in the Ukraine, it's probably harder to get resources, maybe food, right? Depending on where you are, of course, information, Is it easy to get gas? You know, are they stopping like supply chains? Do they have the resources in reserve in the Ukraine so people be able to get all those things, right? And then on the other hand, in Russia, let's just say, in Russia, if you're super wealthy and you have investments globally, right? I think we're seeing where a lot of the rich or ultra rich people are being, you know, kind of shunned by the rest of society. You know, like there's a soccer team that's owned by a Russian oligarch.
Oh yeah.
And Chelsea, I believe it is, and they want him to sell because they're like, hey, we don't want anything to do with you, you know. So
he owns Chelsea.
I believe it's Chelsea. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they want him to sell Chelsea. They're seizing property. They're seizing money. People who have money in U.S. like bank accounts, stock market. They're seizing all this. So the effects on the rich in Russia are pretty evident. The effects on the poor in the Ukraine, or even people who have money in Ukraine, are evident. And then at the same time, you have the resources. Let's say that Russia provides, you know, oil to the European Union. You know, they have a lot of resources. Ukraine, same thing. But interesting thing enough, Russia and Ukraine have a pipeline that's still sending oil. So
No, that one got blown. The one that got blown up, right?
oh, did it get blown up?
Yeah, that.
When did this happen?
Man, I think it was okay. So I heard about it 2 weeks ago. It probably happened about a month ago.
I think the pipeline is still active. This might be a different one.
Oh, okay. They say this is the largest gas pipeline in the world, is what it is, and then that it got blown up, and both sides are pointing at each other.
Are you talking about gas or like natural gas, or oil?
So that's a good thing. You know
Right.
what?
Just curious because there was something I read where they were talking about oil reserves, but at the same time, yeah, those are things that happen. You know, the resources, the distribution of resources gets disrupted, right? And those same resources that, you know, maybe we benefit from here or somewhere else in the country,
Natural gas,
else in the world. You know what I'm saying? So, and then the cascading effect of that is the cost of goods goes up, right? And so everybody suffers globally. I think it's good, you know, at least that's usually what happens. And then some people are making money off it, some people are not. But it just depends on how you position yourself, I guess, and how much money you have to invest.
I had once walked into a Safeway. It was like 11 p.m. or so, and I met this dude named Charlie, I want to say his name was. And basically he was telling me to buy a bunch of like lard, because if there's ever a food shortage, you can eat lard and it stays good for like however many years.
He's got his.
He says just big.
I hope you didn't buy.
Like,
I hope you didn't buy like. Yeah, you might die of like, you know, he might have a heart attack first.
You will.
I don't know. Maybe you can eat lard.
You will die of ketosis. That's how that works.
he was trying to tell me to get that. I was like, thanks for the tip. He's like, yeah, because if there's ever a food shortage, you can eat on that for like blah 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 blah, however long. I was like,
well,
why don't you just buy canned goods?
This is a science lab,
non-perishable.
And our boss. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm gonna go ask him that question. Hey, it's like, have you ever heard if this is true or not? Here's the source. Interesting info. So people are. So a lot of the news has been saying things as far as like the in regards to the fluctuation about cryptocurrency. Mainly Bitcoin has been the biggest thing, the biggest topic. As far as we know, or as far as we've talked about, and everybody else that we've seen, everyone's saying like Bitcoin's the granddaddy of them all. Bitcoin's this, Bitcoin's that. But a lot of people are throwing their projections out there about how it's going to perform. And I was just telling you guys earlier, like I said today, I mean, I was just down at the lab. I had to give blood today. That's why you guys see all this over here. And the lady that was pulling, we talked about Bitcoin. I think the reason why we even got on that topic was because I told her I was into it, and she was trying to put me at ease because there was a needle going into my arm. That's fine. But nonetheless, what she said was interesting. She said she had heard that, or she has Bitcoin herself, But she had been hearing that it was dropping down, and she thought it was in the $30,000 range, which at one point it was, right, early this year. But as I look at it now, I mean, what did I show you guys earlier?
41,000 last time I seen.
Exactly, right?
The funny
Down.
thing about her saying it dropping down, it's like, good, it's shopping season. Like, that's the best time to be buying it. Like,
Yeah.
if it's down 15,000, you're not supposed to sell it. Like,
Yeah.
most people are just like, oh, snap. Is this the end of it or something like that? It's like, bro, people thought that when it was like $100 or something like that.
For sure.
Now it's worth $60,000 per coin. And it's like, if you're not thinking about the long run the same way those people were back then, and there's people that even like, there's memes out there that are like going viral now. People are like, I had 10,000 Bitcoins and I was like around 200 and something bucks. Got rid of that or spent it on a burger and now it's worth 60,000 or something like that. It's like, imagine you had 10,000 Bitcoins and it's worth 60,000. Like,
What is that?
it was like 60 million or something like that. Or
600. Yeah, something like. Actually, I can't do math right now.
yeah, I
That's
just
terrible.
can't even put those type of numbers together right now. But that's just crazy. Like when people see something that's gonna forward, I guess, into the future when it's cheaper or I guess more affordable, priced down. In other words, to say, it's like, oh, should I take my money out? It's like, no, it's the best time to put your money in because then when it goes back up to that price, you're in profit now.
But I guess
You're closer to being where with everybody else, I guess, is like in life with like investing. You get it when it's cheap. It's up here. Boom. Now you have like, you make the most out of it basically. Like you like stretching your money.
Yeah. I think it's interesting.
people are just
'Cause
scared.
In my
man.
mind, I'm like, all I can think about something the Oracle said in The Matrix, right? She said, you know, she was talking to Neo and said, well, you're in a pickle, right? Because you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So if
Right.
you buy Bitcoin, you own something that's that's there's not a lot of, right? And it's a hedge against the dollar. Of course, the dollar losing its value. But then you're also in a position where if you're investing in something that nobody knows who created it, and it could potentially be something that gets regulated, out of existence or into or to whatever level. So I think it's a good idea to own Bitcoin, to have some Bitcoin, but I wouldn't be investing all your money into it because you don't really know what's going to happen, right?
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes people bring things up as talking points too, because maybe that's what they heard, that's what they're aware of when it comes to cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin. And then when it comes to Bitcoin, what do people talk about all the time? What's the price? So what? So what is the price? And does it matter what the price is at this point in time, right? What difference does it make? How is it going to change your life, right? If you were to own it, what do you know about it in terms of what it's going to do in terms of value or holding its value if the dollar loses its value? Are you going to be able to be safe? Is it going to be safe? Can the government come and regulate it or not? What can they do? So owning it is a great thing. But at the same time, I think a lot of people just need something to talk about. So I would, like myself, I would tell them, I would ask somebody, like, why do you own Bitcoin? And see what they say, and maybe they'll have maybe I'll learn something.
Yeah.
when I ask them, I learned something I didn't know. I think that's the great thing about cryptocurrency. But at the same time, it's also opportunity to educate them if they're not educated and say, hey, well, there's other cryptocurrencies you can invest in that may or may not, change your life. But they also have more of a foundation, it's like building your house on a specific foundation. Now, I don't know who made these bricks or where they came from and if they were tested, and will they stand the test of time, will the inspector come out when he comes to inspect the house, say, hey, these bricks, he come back and say, hey, I've already laid the foundation. He could say, hey, these bricks don't meet this, and this standards.
Criteria.
Everything's been standardized. It doesn't meet them, so you're screwed. Versus let's say something that maybe meets all the standards and guidelines that have been set in place, even without regulations.
Right.
Carefully approached it to say, hey, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to cover all our bases because we know at some point someone's going to come and check our books and say, hey, is this legit? Can it be utilized? Is it decentralized? Where'd it come from? What's it do? And if you can answer those questions, then you're probably, more likely to put your money into something that has a strong foundation, and, it'll stand the test of time, and at the end of the day, I think the test of time is the real answer, Well, if it can stand the test of time, are you willing to sit and wait for it to go through whatever process it needs to go through for you to get price appreciation?
Sure.
Or utility and regulations, which, speaking of regulations, they're right around the corner. Who knows? They could be, government's moving towards regulating cryptocurrency. They're making it a priority. So, it could happen.
It's really, and that's the thing. It's, when it comes down to it, it's like, because everything we said, I think we stick true to the same principles every time when we talk about this stuff. It's don't only spend what you're willing to lose, right? But also, like, get some if you can, or have that in your mindset, because everything that you just said, almost to me, kind of gets thrown to the wayside with your last statement saying regulations are coming, government regulations are coming. That just shows once again, it's like whole countries are taking this thing seriously. Right. So now it's like, so they're about to put sanctions on it, about to do this or that. It's like, now is the time, right? If you're going to make a move, to make that move.
Yeah.
Another thing that I wanted to add was like getting like the importance of getting a full share of like a coin, basically, because like you never know, like if you could just use like partial coin payment as like a full thing. Like things might be like, it's 1 Ethereum or it's 1 Bitcoin, or it's gonna be 10 Bitcoins, and based on like the price of how much it is, that's the new standard of like, it's like, instead of saying it's $3, and then like $1 is just 100 cents or whatever, or it could be like 10 cents of Bitcoin, for an example, or like, and then instead of having like a nickel, you have like this coin, like the different worths to put it together in like a transaction for payment. Like basically what I'm saying is like it's like, I guess people, like if you're gonna get into it, put enough money into where you're able to have like a whole coin of like one share.
Sure.
So then like a 0.000 this much, like a partial share of like the crypto, and thinking, I have a lot of money, and it's like you don't even have a full share. Like in this,
that's
it's
just
in a
over
skyrocket.
time.
Yeah,
You gotta build that over time.
But people can start now is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like you can like really put like $5 in, and like there's even cryptos out there that are like 30 cents still, like 20 cents that have potential to be like thousands of dollars maybe, depending on like the utility.
XRP, baby.
I'd like to make a point based off what you just said, which it makes sense to do that, to invest, to own it completely, but at the same time, if you're investing in something that's either already hit its all-time high in terms of what was the lowest point, is it at a lower low, or is it a higher low right now, versus has it already hit its all-time high and then came back down, right, to give you a good entry point, right? And if you're going to buy it, you got to look at what's the potential for it to go up, and as it goes up, how much of my investment can I recoup, and am I doing it to recoup my money, to get my money out of it, and to take price appreciation at some point? Am I doing it for that? And if you are, buy something that you can take the same amount of money and put it towards something that's going to give you price appreciation, where you're going to see a real return on investment. So let's say I put $5 in the Bitcoin, right? If it goes to $100,000, how much am I going to make, right?
Like $12.
But let's say if I put $1,000 into a small cap cryptocurrency with fundamentals, just all kinds of relationships with not only institutions, banks, governments, and it's like pennies on the dollar, so I'm taking that dollar and I'm basically converting it into that cryptocurrency, expecting a huge price appreciation. If it goes 100x and I put $1,000 in, it's 100 times $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Versus $5 into something that goes from 35,000 to 100,000.
Right.
You're not going to make as much money.
The yields aren't as great.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can still use Bitcoin, right? You can still use it for payments. You can still use it as a hedge against inflation or the dollar. But can you? I don't know. People are utilizing it now for sure. It's just,
I was hearing
how much of your money do you really want to put into Bitcoin when it's being consistently hyped up to be something that it not necessarily is? You can make micropayments with Satoshis too, and it's part of Bitcoin's use case is micropayments, which is what layer 2 is. or Bitcoin Lightning is for processing micro payments.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely going to be used for that, I believe. But until the regulations come, who really knows?
I was just listening to NPR on the way over, and they're listening. They were talking again. They go to Ecuador. Bitcoin. That's the Bitcoin place right now. And it's, I don't know. It's really interesting because you have like a lot of people who are. It sounds like it's kind of split, like 50-50. People that are happy about it, other people that aren't. But they were explaining what you were talking about, paying like whole people from other countries were coming in, like from the Netherlands. Using only Bitcoin to purchase things over there. The president is so pro it right now that it's almost like he can't, based off of what I was listening from them, he almost can't turn back. I mean, he can't. You can't turn back. Like you can't say anything else out against it. So, it's not necessarily a realistic.
National currency or
no. It's more of like it's not realistic to like go off of what he's saying about it, right? You more so want to listen to the people, but he's definitely putting in. He's pro. He's putting in infrastructure around all of Bitcoin right now for his place. But again, he kind of has to because he's been riding on that. He wasn't necessarily too popular before this whole incident came aboard, but now he's got popularity in the crypto sphere. Like everybody thinks he's funny. Everybody thinks he's a cool guy. Everyone thinks he's progressive, right? That's how he comes off. He's instituted Bitcoin Beach. I remember you were talking about that one time. There's also an island, like I guess they have some type of, I can't remember if it's like an inactive volcano. And on that island where that volcano is at, it's powered by thermo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like thermo energy.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And so like it's pretty progressive, and on that island too, they're promoting Bitcoin transactions on there too.
They're mining Bitcoin using power that's not needed.
Yes, and they're trying to get more of it too. Like as the price is going down more, right? Or is it going down? I'm sorry. Once again, that's.
It's just correcting right now.
It's just, it's correcting. And we probably will see some jumps up here and there. It's just like for me, the speculation sometimes it's what keeps people out of it, right? It's like you hearing that it's going down 5%, but it's actually not, or saying that it's at 30,000 when it was at 60,000, but it's actually at 45,000. Right.
Yeah. I think a lot of times what happens with people is like we're so used to a currency that's stable.
Yes.
And the stability of that currency is the confidence that it's not going to like fluctuate. So a lot of people feel like they're gambling, And some people don't have anything to lose though. Like they didn't have anything. Ecuador.
No, they literally had nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose because their currency's dead anyways, right?
I mean, isn't ours?
So what difference does it make? They're just in putting in another system for buying and selling goods,
right?
But at the same time, it could also be a shift into that ecosystem, with not that Bitcoin doesn't necessarily have to be the be all and end all, right? Because if you're already moved into digital currency, it legitimizes it, right? In the people's eyes, and they trust the digital currency because it has produced for them this right. Something that they can see. So once they have the trust factor, then you can implement a cryptocurrency. Maybe it's the SDR, but you're using cryptocurrency for payments, but you're using a central bank digital currency that is specifically for your country that enables you to transact with other people directly,
right?
And other countries, but at the same time you could still use Bitcoin for payments.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have a national security because you can't take Bitcoin and say we're going to buy goods from Russia using Bitcoin. I mean, because it's not backed by anything that standardized for everybody to agree upon to say that it has this value. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Snoop Dogg says it's cool, so I mean, that's Ethereum though. But
that makes a lot of sense though. Like if like with like not all these countries being on board with crypto, if you were to try to send like you said, oh, I'm trying to import something from Russia, for example, and you try to send them Bitcoin instead of like a US dollar, where they kind of like know the standard and like the exact price, and like it's something that they know that they've been working with for like years, then it's like people are gonna be like, I mean, then I could see Russia being thrown off, because then it's like, okay, can we trust this purchase or this transaction going through?
Yeah.
And is our
Yeah.
money gonna be worth the same amount, or is the price gonna drop? Like, because if they're not on board with crypto, let alone Bitcoin, why would they accept it, knowing that, okay, even though it's seen as money right now, this could be like no value tomorrow?
Well, they're not publicly on board, if we're gonna say that.
Well, I'm just saying, for
But
example, like,
no, I get it. That's just me throwing some some stuff in the pot. But no, but also like it is true. It's like everybody's on board, but
yeah,
like no, like
it's like, is it public though?
it's just not public about it. Like they're not
Yeah.
gonna, they're not willing to risk putting their necks out for it right now.
And at the same time, if the central banks of these countries are not holding Bitcoin,
Yeah.
then they're the ones that control the monetary systems in their country and how people buy and sell goods, on a broad scale versus just say people transacting with Bitcoin without
Well, another thing to think about too is like, if they did have it inside of banks, don't you think more people would have Bitcoin and other cryptos?
If they had it in banks,
Yeah, like if it was like a standard, like the banks were like, oh, we're giving it out, and like they're like moderating like Bitcoin and other cryptos, like,
yeah, if it's regulated, yeah, definitely.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's not. So that's why a lot of people probably look at certain cryptos, especially Bitcoin and like Ethereum and like the whole NFT space and stuff. Like, oh, it's a big giant gamble. Even though there's people that are selling certain collections and making millions and millions of dollars off of it, because
It's a Ponzi scheme.
but that's what they say in like on Coinbase and everything like that. Like the whole point of crypto is you becoming your own bank account, not having to trust a bank to get money and everything like this.
Right.
And stuff.
It's
Like,
getting closer and
But
closer
at
to
the-
not
but at
even
the-
being a thing.
But at the same time, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck subverting the banks, because
Right.
you're going to still have to pay taxes, and that's what's going on right now. I believe they're setting it up so the big players get involved. They can custody it. Now they can tax you for buying and selling it and trading it. Right? The governments want the cut of it. They're not going to allow Bitcoin to take over the monetary system. No country's going to do that. As you can see, they'll roll out the tanks. And they'll say, hey, I don't care what you say. This is the world reserve currency. If it's the dollar, you're going to have to transact in dollars to do business. Otherwise, we're going to lock you out of the system, And they'll go to war over less,
that's when you move into the metaverse, where they don't control that.
Metaverse.
Personally, I don't want to be in the metaverse for too long. I mean,
I
there's
saw Tyler talk about that the other day. The NFT space. That stuff was funny. Tyler, the creator, he was like, "What is an NFT, bro?" It's like, but besides the point, we're talking about systems now, right? The term Swift has been used quite a bit lately. I'm gonna be honest with you, it was the first time that I heard it outside of the Apple programming language, right? The Swift economic system, Russia's been cut off from it, right? What does that even mean? Like, do you guys know anything about that system?
Yes, the
I
Swift,
just found out about it earlier today.
Yeah,
I'm
the
not
Swift-
even like fully educated.
the SWIFT system is a system where banks and governments basically send money across borders. It's basically a system that now allows the world to trade. It's for trade, right? So
This is where the Nostro Vostro accounts get come
yeah,
into play?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
for sure. Like for
It's basically like foreign exchange, but like between crypto and like people
In
from
countries.
Yeah, countries like being like.
yeah,
what
it
they're,
is.
like-
It's foreign exchange, and you have to be in the club to be able to access the global financial system. It's a global financial system that everyone's agreed upon, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, and to interact in it, you have to follow specific rules and guidelines. And if somebody doesn't agree with you, obviously, like they're disagreeing with Russia's actions, they're sanctioning them. And before, when sanctions occurred, nobody talked about the SWIFT system. They would just say, we're sanctioning you. You didn't, but nobody knew what that meant.
Right.
They knew that they were going to hold back your ability to access, capital, maybe resources and buy and sell goods, right? So you knew that was happening, but how was it happening? By this system, and that's where there are other systems that are being built that are going to enable that transaction to occur between nations, but it's going to be more on the blockchain, and that's,
Right.
that's ISO 20022.
Right.
And yeah, so Russia and China actually have a system already in place to go around the SWIFT system now.
You'd have to, right? Because they saw, it's kind of crazy when you see it, but it's like you see all these sanctions. You would think, oh man, like Russia should probably really like get out, like stop this. But no, they're still full force ahead. They obviously have some type of plan behind that. So you're saying China they have a system with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's called SIPS. I actually took some notes on it. It's pretty ingenious at the same time because you're like, oh, did they have this planned all along? It's called Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. It was launched in 2015. I'm just going to read actually what it is designed to do. So it was launched in 2015 to boost international use of China's currency in trade settlements. So it's an independent international yuan payment. So using the Chinese yuan and clearing system connecting both onshore and offshore clearing markets and participating banks. So it's overseen by the People's Bank of China. So, and the system was created to boost international use of China's currency system. That's in 2009, which goes along with the trade routes that China, right? I think we were going to talk about the BRICS nations.
Yeah, for sure.
Set up what's called the Belt and Road, which is an offshoot to the old Silk Road back in the day, where those were the major trade routes,
right?
Between China, Europe, Middle East, so
back when they were like the world powers,
right?
Well,
so to get around the sanctions and the fact that the U.S. has the world reserve currency, there are systems that have been built to kind of say, hey, we don't need the SWIFT system, and maybe this is all planned to get out of, to, move everything over, because if you're going to war and you're disabling people's ability to access the system and they create their own system, now it bypasses everything that, let's say, the European Union, United States has set up. So are you going to have division between the European Union, United States, and the BRICS nations, or are you going to come together and adopt technology that's going to be the future of payments?
Right.
It's the future. So do you want to wait for someone else to adopt it and move forward, or are you going to adopt it first? Because think about it, if China adopts it first, it's like being in a multi-level marketing organization. Whoever adopts it first is going to have control of the system because everything's going to be flowing through them initially. Right. So what's the U.S. going to do?
Yeah.
I did hear, interview where Jerome Powell, who's the Fed chairman, was talking about, we don't want to be first, but we want to be correct. They want to do it right. But if you don't want to be first, but you're doing it right, you risk someone else doing it right before you do. So
that's true.
So that's the interesting thing that's going on right now with all the geopolitical, moves that have been made with the war going on and the finance, and then Russia being kicked out of the SWIFT system, which is forcing them to move forward in some manner. Now if they already had a system set up, like you were saying earlier, did they already plan for this? Did they know it was coming?
That's how I feel.
Did they see it coming?
Yeah.
Was it inevitable at some point it was going to happen? And they were just taking the necessary steps.
Right.
And is the war just a catalyst now that the war is taking place? And the
fast
reaction
track
from the other governments to say, hey, we're going to sanction you like the old way. Hey, we prepared. We fought you once before. We learned how to defeat you.
Right. Sure.
We learned how not to get hit. So
right.
Now we already studied your game. But we've mastered our game. Now maybe they have a leg up. So ball's in your court, U.S. What are you gonna do?
Most definitely.
BRICS nations, BRICS. That is Brazil,
Russia, India,
China,
and then
South Africa?
Yeah, Brazil,
right?
Russia, India, China, South Africa, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, that's super interesting, man.
Yeah.
So,
and I looked into the BRICS nations just to see, you know, what their plans are. I mean, and they have pretty much all aspects of like what nations would deem important for the future of, you know, the nations, you know, when it comes to trade. So so I took a few notes, and some of the things that they're really focusing on is a BRICS bank, energy, transport, telecommunications, social and labor issues, which is all part of the economy, the political cooperation, the society, like how you're going to educate the youth.
political cooperation?
Political cooperation, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I didn't go too far into
Right,
that,
yeah.
but I assume it means that Brazil, you know, Russia, India, China are going to cooperate when it comes to politics and
Okay.
the direction that their countries are going in terms of what their beliefs are and what they want to set up for them going forward versus the companies the countries that aren't involved in it,
Right.
Like the U.S., for example, you know. So I think it does all go back to the world reserve currency. I think the U.S. has just had so much control over the last 70 years. Is it 70 years? 73? Just control of the money, because everybody that purchases anything internationally has to transfer their money into the dollar to buy it. So it just gives the U.S. a lot of power. So people don't want to be sanctioned anymore. They don't want to follow
No.
anybody else's lead, you know.
Well,
So
they don't want to
create your own system.
And it's wild too, because I mean, you know, after that Second World War, man, it's also kind of crazy. Like, anytime that you have like another country coming in and destroying like another country, like we're going beyond like political figures and stuff. They're talking like movies or just any type of thing to like fit their narrative.
Yeah.
You know, that's probably going to sit wrong with quite a few people, especially after a few years when the war is. So, you know, people now are starting to feel like, hey, we're putting our stuff together. Like, America's weaker than ever at this point. Enemy of my enemy is my friend type of situation. There's a whole other thing that you were talking about, that Russia's getting ready to put the ruble on the gold standard. Is that still, that's like a thing still?
Yeah, I mean, this is as of yesterday. So, I mean,
Wild.
obviously there's more information to come out, but that's what they're talking about doing, you know, to have their currency actually backed by gold, you know. So a lot of, you know, obviously the U.S. was on the gold standard, and then they confiscated all the gold, and they went to, you know, promissory note system, the IOU system with the dollar, you know. The dollar is basically just a piece of paper that says the bank owes you this money, or they promise to pay you the money that you deposited, you know. But if they don't have the money, how can they pay you, you know? If the value of the money is consistently falling, how are they going to pay you? Now, if they're able to seize your funds now like they did in Canada, what makes you think you're going to be able to claim your dollars if it's a national emergency and, you know, they decide that they can take your money? They literally can take your money. They can take your dollar bills. So a lot of people are globally and in America too are in a bind, because there's the real possibility that we can have a serious problem in this country, and out of national security, the U.S. government can seize your funds. You know, they show that they can seize funds in Canada, when people that they didn't agree with what the government was doing.
Sure.
You know, they deemed them as criminal, aiding and abetting criminals, and they're able to take their money legally.
Right.
So legally, they could do it. So
wow.
You definitely can't put anything past, you know, what could occur. If you look at what happened in the last 2 years, would you think any of that was possible?
No.
Okay, so I mean, so at this point, you almost have to say nothing is off
the table,
because if you're willing to do that, what else are you willing to do to maintain power and control. Because at the end of the day, it's all about power and control.
Right.
So, and I did want to mention another thing too about the BRICS nations. They're also, like I was mentioning, that they want to create a specific society, so they're focusing on the youth. They're also focusing on sustainable development, like clean energy too. So they're going in that direction also, and education. So all these things are part of it. So they really want to. Now, what the education consists of, I don't know. Maybe they're educating you to be a cog in the wheel of the digital economy.
Sure.
So
or to reprogram your mind about history that's happened, right? Or
which could be
is
part
what
of
we-
it, which makes it easier to fall into line and say, hey, okay, we'll accept the new system, because generally when people introduce something, it doesn't matter who it is, and like, just like animals, they'll just be like, okay, I don't know, I'm not sure.
I'm not used to
Let me
this, so I don't care.
Let me see it. Nope, don't want it. But then if you're starving, and it looks like a piece of bread and tastes like a piece of bread,
Yeah.
genetically modified, but hell, they drip a little honey on that. You'd be like, is this a Ritz?
David,
Is this for real?
David, I think Lori's going to want to talk to you about genetically modified foods, so you know. He has an interesting take on GMOs. It's
Probably ate a lot of them today.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. We're definitely doing it.
Right.
No, all interesting, man. I think the biggest concern, I mean, it's a pretty big concern considering that, because I remember we were talking before this too. And one thing that we said a while ago was that every 60 years, we or 50 to 60 years, the major currency of the world changes or something happens in that whole aspect.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're putting their money on the gold standard, that's pretty huge. That's going to say a lot about our dollar too when it comes to our position in trading for goods, for services, for anything like that with other places, because it kind of makes our currency that much more weaker in a sense, right?
I think so.
Right.
Yeah, I think it really puts the U.S. in a position where they have to accept the reality of what's going on.
Sure.
And I was listening to an economist speak today. Her name's Lynette Zhang. So if you want to listen to somebody who knows what she's talking about when it comes to investing and how the banks work, Lynette Zhang, she's a super smart lady. And she was talking about how the value of the dollar has been waning in terms of, when I was mentioning earlier, how the European Union's euro was supposed to take over, how over time since 1999 the value of the dollar's been going up while the euro's been the dollar's been going down while the euro's been going up. And before it was 100%. Now the U.S. is 40% when it comes to trade.
Right.
Global trade, dollar being used as a world reserve currency. It was 100%. U.S. is 40.
Right.
I think European Unions went up to 37 or something like that. So it just shows you that the value of the dollar's gone down. The euro's gone up, of course, with the European Union. And then what the reality is, they're coming to the end of the road, when it comes to the dollar. And what a lot of economists say will happen is the U.S. will go into a depression.
Right.
Because they no longer have all that capital and the resources and the money coming in. The cost of living is going to obviously continue to go up. The rich are going to get richer. The poor are going to get poorer. So will there be social unrest when that happens? Will there be a lack of food? Will you be able to afford gas? What kind of jobs are going to be there? Are they going to eliminate a lot of jobs? Are a lot of jobs going to be taken over by automation and technology? Very likely,
Yeah.
So just be ready,
Yeah.
Buy
Position.
XRP and XLM, focusing on the ISO 20022 cryptocurrencies, and keep them off the exchange, put them on a ledger, and also buy gold and silver, which I don't own enough gold for it to be significant, but
Right.
if you can buy some.
It's just so funny because, like, literally, I was looking it up. Those are the things that, what's my man's name? Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
So I came across some stuff that Warren Buffett was saying, and he was, a lot of people are saying like cryptocurrency, gold, silver, raw refined. He's like, I guess so. I guess he's like a pretty.
He doesn't care about the whole cryptocurrency and like things.
Not only does he not care, but he's deterring people from. He's saying like it's a
he says
a
all
poison.
I don't know about all that. I didn't see all that, but I
I
remember
heard-
I
I
seen
heard
something
that.
on the
I
internet
heard him
saying
say
that.
Yeah.
He said it's all gonna go down to like zero, especially Bitcoin.
Yes.
Like it's just gonna.
There's another one
hit
too
rock
that was
bottom.
saying that, and he was saying that he knew who the person who made Bitcoin was, and
And when they come out, when people find out who it is,
Do
and
you
it's gonna
know
go.
you know who?
was he talking about Russia?
A lot of people are saying it's either a Russian or it's Vladimir Putin.
Oh, that's
That
interesting.
it's the.
He's not smart
it's-
enough to do that,
it's-
is he? Is he smart?
He's about to go blow
He's
up.
smart enough to run the Soviet Union. I mean,
Fair enough. Okay.
how long's he been there? And
My bad, Putin.
Well-
I don't want him to come after me. Man.
Hey,
Straight up.
if they could find you here, they could find Zelensky like that.
That's
They could drone him like that. I mean, come on. If you especially you're talking all that noise, I mean,
Yeah.
they're dropping bombs on fools,
yeah.
on Osama bin Laden. They knew where he was the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if he's out there saying, I'm out in the streets. Okay, right. If
Yeah.
you are and you're at war, why don't they just if
Take you
if
out.
it's real, why don't they just take him out?
That's fair. Okay, maybe
I don't know.
take it
Maybe
back.
I'm tripping, but I think at war, if it's a
Get
war,
this shit
the
done.
goal
I
is to
mean-
like take over and kill the person at the top. You chop the head off.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah.
Body's gonna collapse.
No, it's very
If
true.
they kill that dude, the war is over.
Yeah.
But then is the war over? Or is it escalated? I don't know. But
I feel like it will escalate for like a little bit, just because. Oh my gosh, my
I mean, if you
my
cut,
higher up or whoever he's seen, but then like people be like, actually, I don't give a shit.
I mean, when they got rid of Fred Hampton, man, the Panthers went wayward, man. It was kind of crazy. Also, I didn't know that guy was 21 when he died. Like, right?
I'm not sure.
He was really young when he died.
Yeah.
That's besides the point. What were we just talking about?
Oh, we were talking about
The owner of
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin and like it's supposed to Warren
no,
Buffett.
right. Billionaires talk. So the specific things that you're talking about investing in is literally in objection to what he is saying.
Well, I mean,
We're not
he's-
billionaires, but
he's already hella rich.
Right.
I mean, why would I listen to him about something not to buy? I'll listen to him about something to buy.
Sure.
So why, if Bitcoin's going to go to zero, I mean, that's his opinion, right?
Right.
So I mean, you can either believe him or not. What are you going to do?
yeah,
But he's a billionaire. Who cares? I
Yeah.
mean, he could say whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
He could say it's going to zero because he thinks it's going to zero. And if it's still his opinion, what proof or evidence does he have? Right?
yeah,
I mean, of course he could make a lot of money. So if that's the case, don't buy Bitcoin. Buy what he's buying. Don't buy if he's selling.
because he's definitely buying.
and if he's
Right.
if he's selling.
I could have swore
his
he opened up
stocks-
like a whole thing of revolved. I don't know if it was Bitcoin or not, but like he had set up something that had to do with like crypto, and that's why when I seen that he was saying, "Oh, Bitcoin, all the other things are about to like collapse one day," I was like, "What?" Like,
It's
I thought
confusing, right?
Yeah, because I swear he was involved in crypto in some type of way.
So it's stuff like that. Again, that's what I'm saying. It's stuff like this that keeps people out of the market. And nothing ever trumps your own research or like your own knowledge. I mean, I'm sorry. I should say that with a grain of salt because, sometimes we'd be looking for things to like to push our own agenda, right?
Right.
But if you're seriously sitting down and you're just trying to weigh out the two odds of like
Should I get invested into this? Should I
Yes.
not? It's like, yeah, your own research. Don't just let some people be like, oh, this shit's
Don't
it's
even
all
listen to
bull
us.
crap and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, I'm just go for their word, and you miss out on millions of dollars in the future. Like, or like somebody's like, dude, you should get into crypto, and you do, and then it does go to zero. Like, basically, just like follow your heart. Like, do your own research. Know
say
enough
don't
to
follow
make
your
your own
heart. Actually,
choice.
that's probably not a good idea. Don't follow your heart, but follow. Yeah.
Follow what makes sense in the moment. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
But at the same time, if you look at Bitcoin, right, and just say, okay, if you have billionaires that own Bitcoin, right? And they want to own Bitcoin. So I'm looking at the market cap of Bitcoin. It's $785 billion, right? So let's just say you're a multi-billionaire, right? And you say, hey, you know what? Let's just corner the market on Bitcoin, you know? So if you're a billionaire, you probably know some other billionaires and say, hey, let's take 100 million each and buy Bitcoin, right?
Right.
Now you're putting the majority of the Bitcoin in the hands of people that can affect the market by what they do, not necessarily what they say, or what they say, right? Because they could say, hey, don't buy Bitcoin, okay? Price goes down. Guess what? They're buying more, right? Because they already have $100 billion worth, you know? If I say don't buy it, and the price goes down, I buy more. Now it enables me to corner the market in Bitcoin even more, right? Or if I say, hey, Bitcoin's a scam, you know, more people are going to jump off.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like people are throwing rocks and hiding hands,
right?
and wallets,
right? So the best thing you can do is, like you were saying, Kelvin, is to like do your own research and trust what you trust your eyes, and then follow what the rich folks are doing. So if the smart money is saying don't buy Bitcoin, you know, you should probably buy Bitcoin. You should probably have some. You should probably have some Bitcoin because they're talking their book. Right?
Yeah.
They're telling you for a reason. They ain't telling you because they want you to make money. They ain't telling you because they want you to get rich. They're telling you because they have an agenda, usually. You know? Or maybe it's just their opinion and they just want to voice their opinion.
Right. That's the other thing too.
Because maybe they know how it started. Maybe they have a big hand in it, so they can manipulate the market by selling or buying. You know. And I was looking at some statistics like 2 weeks ago where they're talking about. Because you can go on and you can look in the blockchain and see the big movers and shakers in Bitcoin. Are they buying and selling? So, and what I was seeing was a trend. Well, actually, I wasn't seeing it, but the person that was researching it saw a trend of major Bitcoin holders taking profit. So they're selling. They're selling as the price is going down. Why? Because they see, quote unquote, Bitcoin dominance going down. So when Bitcoin dominance is up, Bitcoin has more of the market share and all the other cryptos has less. When Bitcoin's going down, the Bitcoin's dominance is down. The money's moving into altcoins and stable coins, right?
Oh, get out of here.
So then the altcoin, stable coin value starts going up because maybe Bitcoin, people are seeing the holes in Bitcoin, or they're seeing the technology and the other cryptos being solid investments, you know. And so you'll have altcoin seasons based on what's going on in the market by what.
And that's what they're not telling. That's not what they're not telling you, because when you talk about cryptocurrency, almost automatically people think cryptocurrency or think Bitcoin, right? Yeah. But they're not, because you're right. Because the two billionaires that I've seen, the one what's his name being one of them, they said specifically Bitcoin. They didn't say cryptocurrencies. So it's in the things that they're probably not saying too, you think? Like,
I feel like a lot of people are against Bitcoin for the simple fact that it has been one of those ones that's been here since 2011, 2012 or so. And so like the fact that it's been around so long, it's at the price that it is right now. There's a lot of people that are considered billionaires within the holders of the coin, and like I could see why a lot of people are like don't get this, and in certain places they're saying that they accept it, and so it's kind of like, well, do I get it, do I not get it? But like you notice how it's only just Bitcoin, like Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that.
Oh yes.
Nobody say anything like, oh, don't get Ethereum, don't get Litecoin, don't get this and Snap or nothing like that.
People are bullish on Ethereum right now, from what I've been seeing. It's been pretty. I mean, I feel like Snoop Dogg. I see something about Snoop Dogg every day with Ethereum.
That's true.
Every day.
The funny thing is, I was like doing some research, and they were talking about how a lot of companies are going away from Ethereum.
Oh wow!
The gas fees.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
But here's but at the same time, Ethereum, most of the cryptocurrencies are built on Ethereum, so they're basically doing ICOs every time they release a new coin. It's on ERC20. It's a ERC20 token, right? So it's, the majority of the cryptos are on Ethereum, but Ethereum has a lot of holes in it.
Yes.
And Ethereum 2.0 ain't even out yet, which is supposed to cover up the holes, right? The scalability problems with Ethereum, right? So if you're creating an ecosystem based on smart contracts and you can't scale, how are you going to put all your trust in a system that doesn't work? If you have a multi-million-dollar organization, you know, maybe you're trying to tokenize real estate, or you're trying to tokenize insurance, or you're trying to tokenize a product, you know, globally. And are you going to put it on a system that has holes in it, that has been shown to have flaws, that you can't scale on, meaning you can't build the ecosystem on it, and then you can't, other blockchains can't plug into it? Okay, so you got problems. So there's other blockchains out there that don't have the scalability issues as Ethereum has. So, but we've had this conversation before, you know, so it makes you think, you know, okay, so just like there was other search engines out there that were there initially, and I'll mention like Alta Vista was one of them, Hotbot was another one, right? And they had the ability to go online and search, but when you search, you didn't get the number of results you did. But
that Google gives.
Then Google comes out, yeah,
Ask
exactly.
Jeeves.
And they're like, okay, they don't have the same issues, but maybe they saw the tech and they were able to build it correctly, so you could scale on it, just similar to what's going on with the new technology, Web3 technology, right? Mm-hmm. So is Ethereum going to be around? Probably, because all these tokens are built on it. But the great thing is a lot of these tokens are going to be able to scale off to other blockchains and scale up, you know. And some of the other blockchains like Polygon, Solana, you know,
I've been hearing a lot about
XLM, XRP,
Tezos. You've been hearing about Tezos?
Tezos.
Yeah, right. That's a big one for music right now too. I know Quincy Jones has built his NFT platform off of that for musicians.
Yeah,
which is interesting to me.
Right. I haven't seen nothing about music around that one so far. I've seen the name before, but I've never seen it like tied to anything that was music.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting.
It is. It's very. I mean, a lot of this stuff is interesting, man. It's really cool when you can, because really, again, like, you know, as much as we talk about cryptocurrency, you know, we want to talk about advancements just in this technology as it is, anyways. So it's like, what are who's inventing things to like solve problems, right? And then also like, is there a coin attached to that, right? Yeah. Those are again. I mean, we say this. I feel like we say this every episode, but it's about those are the things, the tokens that are providing utility, that are providing some type of service. Those are the ones that you really want to look at. And I try to tell that to everybody that I talk to, especially when the first thing when you're talking about cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. You know, that's again, it's just what people know at this point. This is what's being put out there. But there's a lot of coin. I mean, we're talking about. The ISO 20022.
Yeah.
Like, did I get it right?
Right.
There we go, man. ISO 20022. Yeah. Those coins.
Right.
Like those.
I think if you fast forward a couple years and listen to some of the podcasts and say, okay, well, you were talking about ISO 2022 back in 2022. No coincidence.
On a Tuesday. No, it's Thursday though.
Right. But either way, you know, if they do solve a problem, you know, just like anything that solves a problem, technology-wise, usually gets adopted, you know, because let's say it's cheaper, it operates better.
Right.
Why wouldn't you start using it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to create an NFT and you can do it on a platform that's cheaper, and that way more people can adopt it and build on it, then why wouldn't more people move towards a platform that's going to enable them to do that? Because at the end of the day, we all want to pay less for the same service or better service if it's possible, right?
Things that alleviate borders, or what's the word I'm really trying to use? Things that get rid of grievances in general are the things that typically make money. Yeah. when publicized.
Yeah. Things that
When
remove
publicized.
like pain points and payment rails.
Yeah.
You know, if you have something that can save you money every time you transact with, you know, for business, why wouldn't you use it? You know, if I had a payment system that cost me 1 cent and I had one that cost me 10, I mean, why would I use the one that cost 10 cents? Whether or not, you know, it was the first one there. Oh yeah, you know, ours cost 10 cents, but we came to you in 2010 and you said you'd use it. Okay, well, I found the one that cost 1 cent that does everything yours does it better, faster, and cheaper. See ya.
Bye.
You know? I mean, because at the end of the day, it's about, you know, does it make sense? Does it save money? You know, does it make it easier to do business?
Right.
You know, does it make it easier for you to get whatever you need to get done? You know, that's the way I see it. I did want to mention something about we were talking about about wars and the effects. So there's a guy that manages one of the biggest funds in the world. His name's Ray Dalio. You know, he's a multi-billionaire. And then he was talking about the effects of the war on the economy, and you know what he thinks the effects are. So I made a couple of notes.
Yeah.
And then because he did say it's a threat to the established post-war order. So the way the world is structured in terms of who's in power. You know, after World War II and then Korean War and Vietnam, who's in power? The U.S. is in power. And then he said, will war spread beyond the Ukraine? And will it? You know, if it does, obviously that changes things even more, because if it spreads out of the Ukraine, then it becomes more of a world war. And
Yes.
the world war will affect everyone. And then obviously how will China respond? You know, and China's response, if things get out of hand, you know, could determine the fate of all of us, you know. Because
Right.
if China gets involved and it goes outside of Ukraine, now they're probably going to start drafting people. They're probably going to start, okay, prepare for war.
And this is
Stock up on resources. Are they going to drop bombs? It's going to be a cyber war, you know. And then if that's the case, you know, what's the olive branch to end it? What's the olive? You know, what quote unquote levels the playing field? Is it cryptocurrency? Is it blockchain technology?
Is it a nuclear bomb?
Well, to avoid a nuclear bomb, I
Sure.
think there's going to have to be an agreement on how we go forward in peace, you know. And after war, usually it's peacetime, and the peacetime is prosperity, you know. But you need the war. I don't say you need the war, but I think the war is usually a catalyst for change, you know, because when everyone gets to a point where they're ready to fight, even if you're, you know, in a relationship with someone, you start boxing, hey, that relationship is either over, or you're gonna make peace and maybe go your separate ways, or you make peace and stay together, right? But you can't just keep fighting,
Right.
right? You
Right.
can, but I mean, you'll never get anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, the world won't be able to progress unless there's peace. I think that cryptocurrency is going to be the thing that levels the playing field, because that's the terminology is used a lot. You know, if you have the BRICS nations going for developing the world, making things better and making them equal, you know, and then the European Union and the U.S. are looking at doing the same thing, then seems like everyone has the same goals in mind, you know.
Yeah.
But you need something to hold the glue together, and it's a currency that doesn't leave anyone out, and it doesn't enable anyone to have the upper hand, you know. And if it's transparent, like blockchain technology is, and they talk about walled gardens, so everyone has their own walled gardens. Like you have your cell phone, you're China, you have your own cell phone. You know, I'm U.S., I have my own cell phone. You're Russia, you have your own cell phone, right? We have access. We can share information, but at the end of the day, guess what? We are the only ones that have access to our cell phone. You know what I mean? So just an analogy, but
No, I get it. No, that was good.
Yeah.
That was actually a really good analogy. That was really Ray Dalio,
Ray Dalio, yeah,
Dalio.
yeah,
Okay, cool. And then I also got the other lady too, Lynette Zhang,
and then Zhang, and George Gammon.
George Gammon.
George Gammon, man, that guy's talks about the banking system, how money works, and maybe a little hyper nerdy, but it's good to at least have some understanding as little as I
Yeah.
He's just
We
like-
only know so much, man. We can only do so much.
right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'll give it to you in a second. I mean, did you guys have anything else that you guys wanted to hit on today? I think we kind of and just to preface it also too for the viewers, we normally for our podcast we try to talk about things that aren't necessarily so dare I say pop culture-esque or just so current events like or something like that. We try to do like more principles, what to look at, and whatnot. But this is such a
What's
big
more
thing.
so upcoming?
Huh?
I said more so what's upcoming.
What's upcoming? You say?
Yeah, that's what we're focusing on. Like I guess in like financial, how
Oh,
the
yeah.
world and like everything like in the news plays, and like how it all affects each other in one.
Yeah. And just giving them strong building blocks that they can build upon. But
Yeah.
this is such a big topic, and wars only come around every so often. And normally, like you said earlier, when there is a war, right? There's a lot of times, if depending on who wins or loses, a shift in power, a shift in currency, and we're already at the point now where we're at the banging up against that 60-year mark of the U.S. dollar being taken off the gold standard into where we're at. We've got Russia switching their currency over to the gold standard now. We've got cryptocurrency, which is being talked about at a voracious rate amongst people, whether it's good or bad. Everything's kind of ripe for the pickings. And if you keep in mind the same principles that we were talking about, where it's like doing your own research, only spending what you're willing to, but doing it diligently and doing it often as you can to really put yourself in position. So I think we had to take today in order to actually talk about that, to see like, hey, let's compare histories real quick just to see what's actually going on and give it a well-rounded story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cool.
That was a pretty good episode though.
Yeah, I thought so. Thought we stayed on topic. We'll let
For
the
the most
viewers
part.
decide.
Yeah, it's better than the first few.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, if that's all we got today, once again, I'm Kelvin.
I'm Nate.
Valori.
Thank you again to the Rain Incubator, and this has been the Neo Standard. We'll see you guys on the next episode.